This is an island ran by the Mafia, but there's one very important rule. Never speak about the Mafia.
And always keep your mouth shut.
Omerta is a southern Italian code of silence which goes along with a host of other strict commandments which Italian Mafia members must follow.
So either you were with them or you went, against them.
Its roots stem back to Sicily, where it was founded in the 19th century.
Welcome to Palermo.
As we sit here in 2024, the Mafia, formerly known as the Cosa Nostra, seemingly still has somewhat of a foothold on this beautiful island.
Grazie.
But to what extent?
Now, I want to find out if the Mafia still have a presence here in Sicily in 2024, or if it's a thing of the past.
I want to learn more through the locals living here in Sicily who have been directly impacted by the group.
And doing so might put me in danger. I don't know who I could be sat next to at a cafe when I start speaking about the Mafia.
But it's a weird feeling going to visit somewhere to explore a very specific topic which I'm technically not supposed to speak about.
There's something about the ruggedness of this city that I absolutely love. All the buildings are so beautiful, the streets are dirty and the walls are covered in graffiti, but it's so beautiful. Crossing the street here isn't exactly the simplest of tasks. Nobody really stops. You just kind of have to go for it and hope that you don't get run over.
Initially, I couldn't see or feel anything Mafia related. It just felt like an authentic Italian city. And right away, I was off to meet a local Sicilian that I met online and had agreed to show me around the city.
Hi, Giorgio. Giorgio?
And the first thing he told me was that it would be a crime to come and visit Italy without riding on a Vespa at least once.
I use it also for something else, but I cannot tell you.
I'm a real Italian now.
I was like 13 years old when I started to go in Vespa. I hope that Italian police will not get this video, but it's okay. This time is the time of the siesta, So all the policemen at siesta, they cannot stop us.
The local street markets are a huge part of the DNA in Palermo, and Giorgio definitely showed me why.
This is lasagna. This is like traditional Sicilian pasta.
Exactly.
With being in a new, unfamiliar environment, as well as knowing the risks involved with openly speaking about the Mafia, there wasn't an appropriate time to ask Giorgio about it. So that conversation was going to have to wait until someone else I was meeting later on.
Ciao Bella. Bye. Honestly, the locals here in Palermo have been so nice. I haven't been allowed to pay for anything.
One thing I can say for sure is that Palermo does not disappoint when it comes to showcasing authentic Italian culture. But it was time to get back on track with my main intention for visiting this island.
So I've just got myself a rental car as we are heading out of Palermo to a town called Corleone. It's just over an hour drive and the town has a lot of relations to the Mafia. Our Sicily road trip is beginning. Let's go.
And I've definitely driven on roads with worse views than these ones before in my life.
Well, it seems we may have a slight issue because that is the way I'm supposed to be going. Not exactly what you want to see. On the bright side, the views are beautiful.
And with all the roadblocks out of the way, I found myself arriving into Corleone.
We have made it to the town of Corleone, about an hour away from Palermo. It is a small, quiet town, but the reason this town became so infamous was during the mid-20th century. This place was a stronghold for some of the most powerful and violent Mafia families out there. Corleone's association with the Mafia was also popularized in the Godfather movie, the main character being Vito Corleone.
Now you come to me and you say, Don Corleone, and give me justice.
Once upon a time, this was an extremely dangerous town.
And the Corleonesi also killed all these opponents, all these people out in the open, without hiding. Because they wanted people to know, They wanted people to think of them as the one in charge, as the very violent ones. So either you were with them or you went, against them.
However, the influence of the Mafia in Corleone and also the rest of Sicily has diminished a lot in the recent years, mostly down to excessive police crackdowns, high-profile arrests.
After missing my opportunity earlier on to speak with a local about the Mafia, I needed to speak directly with someone who has lived here their entire life and seen that transition. And I couldn't let the opportunity slip this time.
I'm actually about to meet with a local I have found here in Palermo. I actually met him on couch surfing. It's a bit risky for me to just meet a stranger and ask them about the Mafia. I don't know who they are, who their friends could be, who their family are.
As you can probably imagine, I was quite nervous about asking this to a stranger, so I thought it was best not to film the start of our interaction. But after talking for a while off camera, I got the all clear to start recording.
But before I introduce you, I need to tell you about something important.
So if you're planning on traveling anytime soon or like saving money, you're gonna wanna keep listening. For years now, I've been wasting so much money on roaming charges using my home SIM card whilst traveling, when I could have been buying an eSIM using Sim Local, who have sponsored today's video. I used to pay about £6 a day for roaming charges, which after a month of traveling racks up a £180 bill. Let me quickly explain it to you. Instead of having a physical SIM you put in your phone, you simply download the app Sim Local, search in the country you're traveling to, pick the amount of data that you want, buy the eSIM and connect to the internet anywhere in the world for a reasonable price. You can buy a global eSIM which covers up to 149 countries around the world, which is perfect if you're as spontaneous as I am or just to have it for an emergency. Sim Local has 5 stars on Trustpilot and hundreds of reviews, so make sure to click the link down below or scan the QR code on screen and use the code BENMORRIS to save 10% off your eSIM.
So I'm here with Alfredo. Is that how you say it? Alfredo.
Alfredo.
So you'd say you're a true Sicilian.
Yeah, mom Sicilian, my dad Sicilian, my grandfather. Arancini is a typical Sicilian food. So this is bolognese, Roger.
Oh wow.
How do you like it?
Well, I was gonna ask you because I didn't know whether people like openly speak about the Mafia or whether it's like a taboo subject.
For me, I am not affected by Mafia at all.
Yeah. Is the Mafia still like
Strong, yeah.
strong and visible like
Yeah.
today, or just in different ways?
No, it's very strong. The difference is most of the time you do not see it and you're not being affected by it. Because like in the old days, it was about controlling the territory and making sure that protection money and ransom money was paid.
We're going to Mondello Beach to watch the sunset. I got told it used to be a swamp and they put loads of sand there.
Yeah, about 100 years ago.
Would it be dangerous for me to go around and ask people about the Mafia, like if I ask the wrong person?
Well, if you ask about Mafia, the real Mafia person will tell you that they know nothing and that Mafia does not exist.
Yeah.
Unless you know who they are and where they're coming from, you wouldn't be able to tell who they are.
Learning more about the Mafia through Alfredo's lived experience was incredibly insightful.
We have just arrived. The houses here are quite expensive as well, right? They're what, like 1 or 2 million
Maybe
euros?
even more, so
really?
yeah.
I mean, you have this on your doorstep, and this is actually a private beach club right here. There's some sailing clubs and more private beaches.
Outside of the Mafia, the other thing Sicily is very famous for is their food, but there's actually a strong connection between the two that exists. Italy produces more tinned tomatoes than any other country in Europe and the third most in the world. When most people think of the Mafia and how they make their money, they will typically think of dramatized gangster-related crimes, but a huge amount of this agricultural industry in southern Italy is Mafia-led. The Agro Mafia, which is an organization analyzing criminal involvement in the food chain, estimates that the Mafia's food-related business was worth 24.9 billion euros in 2019. It's speculated they've gotten here by both buying the land or intimidating the farm owners into letting them manage their land. This just shows that even if the Mafia isn't directly visible to the eye in Sicily, their presence in the background is definitely very strong.
I'm on my way to a traditional Sicilian cooking class to learn how to cook a dish. How are you? Ben, nice to meet you. Oh.
And on the topic of gangsters, there was one in the kitchen about to cook up a madness.
This one? Questo, no? A scuola di inglese.
Okay, so we are now going to make the zucchini. In the pan with the oil is done.
Here.
Lots of salt.
Così la maneggia.
I really haven't done much cooking, but it's probably for the best. Having a good time.
No, 근데 더 맛있어.
That looks so good. Thank you guys. I didn't really do much.
Eat with the hand. Okay.
With hands?
With that.
Okay.
Very good.
Well, I can't say that I'd mastered making pasta. I could definitely say that I was very full up. I'd been in Sicily for a while now, and my visit felt incomplete as I had not really gotten to the bottom of my sole intention to come here, to really learn about the Mafia and more specifically their presence on the island in 2024.
There is, however, a huge anti-mafia movement that is going on here in Sicily, and when I arrived at the airport I saw a anti-mafia tour being advertised. I obviously need to go to that. It starts in 10 minutes. I'm so interested to learn more about the Mafia from a local who has actually lived here. Obviously these people are not afraid to speak out and risking their own safety.
Believe me, before the 90s, this was not a very welcoming place. No, unfortunately, they didn't care about killing other people. They never cared about killing innocents, of course. They have massacred children and women and elder people without thinking twice.
So right behind me is actually a wall covered with murals of people who have basically dedicated their life into fighting against the Mafia or killed at the hands of the Mafia.
It was pretty normal for the business owners to pay pizzo to the Mafia. We said a few minutes ago, pizzo is protection money. Pizzo is paid from the shopkeepers to the Mafia people, and the word itself kind of explains it, because pizzo in Sicilian means the beak of the bird, to get the beak wet, to take a sip, basically.
And this right here is actually a sticker to show that this shop doesn't pay the pizzo. It's kind of a way of standing up to the Mafia and showing people can come and spend their money here, knowing it's not gonna go back into the pockets of the Mafia.
Every time that they see the sticker, they don't even try anymore. They literally said it's more the problems than the money that we can get out of this.
It is really sad being here and seeing all these names, all these judges that were brave enough to fight up against the Mafia, and are the reason that Sicily and a lot of Italy is a lot safer than it used to be.
A lot of people are believing that the Mafia is kind of gone, that the Mafia doesn't kill anymore. For sure, there is something happening behind the curtains, and the least we talk about it, the better is for them.
Do you feel entirely safe doing this job?
Personally, I mean, when we do the tours, nothing really worth mentioning. Maybe some nasty looks 20 years ago. Sometimes you didn't know if you made it out of that alive.
Yeah.
Today, it's actually a big improvement, I would say.
Yeah. So is it still taboo, or are people okay talking about it?
It depends
now?
on the person.
Right. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There is so much more about the Mafia than you see and hear about in movies and TV shows. It is entirely real, but it's not quite as bad as it used to be, or at least it's not as visible as it used to be.
I was told that if I really wanted to understand and feel the pain inflicted by the Mafia on those living on the island over the last 2 centuries, there was one place I needed to visit to complete my journey.
Okay, you can have a look, but just 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. They weren't able to do a tour for one person. They have let me look around for 5 minutes by myself. I can't really read much in this museum because I don't speak any Italian, but I believe this is a room full of all the court documents and evidence from all the Mafia cases. There are so many documents in here. Behind me is a very important site here in this mountain pass in Sicily, which is unfortunately the site of a massacre. On that day, there was a large gathering of peasants and labourers to celebrate International Workers' Day and also fight for workers' rights. It turned deadly when gunmen led by the bandit Salvatore Giuliano opened fire on the crowds. It's believed that the attack was intended to intimidate the peasants and to curb the left-wing movement that was happening here in Sicily. It's a pretty sad place to be.
I leave Sicily with a far more educated understanding of the Mafia compared to the outlook I entered this beautiful island with. The Sicilians I met along my journey here allowed me to vicariously live through their personal experiences of the Mafia and inform me of what the group actually represents as an entity in 2024. The Mafia, no doubt, is still operating in a major way in the shadows of the streets here. However, I spent 3 days on the island and never once sensed a Mafia presence during that time. And that is directly down to the bravery and resilience of the Sicilian people who have fought back to reclaim a level of peace on this unique island which they call home.